A new season is upon us, and we still don't know who's gonna actually be added into Tekken Season 2 for sure. Today, we're gonna go ahead and take a look into who it is that may have a possibility of being added into the game. Now, for context here, Tekken 8 is a new game, and we should be looking forward to new characters. That's what I think, at least. But the community seems more interested in returning characters, and this is understandable. Makes perfect sense, because players are more interested in seeing their favorite characters return with a whole new design, with new moves, as opposed to somebody new. Like, we don't know how good or bad they're going to be. It's a lot of risk. Also, it's kind of fun to speculate who's going to be added into the game. Like, let's be honest. It's fun to kind of theorycraft and try to figure out who's going to be added, and then finding out later on who really is going to get added and how they look and how they've changed. Like, that's pretty interesting. Now, Tekken is in a really interesting point right now because it's moved from Unreal Engine 4 to Unreal Engine 5. So Tekken 7 characters, it actually makes a lot of sense for them to port those characters over to Tekken 8. Now, Tekken has moved from Unreal Engine 4 to Unreal Engine 5. So Tekken 7 characters being made in Unreal Engine 4, their moves, their animations would take a bit less effort to transfer over to Tekken 8 as compared to creating a new character from scratch. So it actually makes perfect sense for them to take older characters from T7 into T8. It's less effort, less expense, and people already have an interest in those characters. And it also gives those newer characters more time with the players to build that relationship for later Tekkens. So let's go ahead and try and figure out who it is that might return from Tekken 7's roster and why. Before we proceed, I gotta tell you, I may start rambling and yapping, so be forewarned. All right, let's get into the data deep dive. I wanted to use character usage data to find out what characters were the most popular. This was pretty hard to gain access to because Bandai Namco / the Tekken team, they don't officially release the character usage data. They seem to only give out bits and pieces in interviews and on social media. But thanks to some great people online who compiled some really good character usage data for Tekken 7, we can actually make some educated guesses here. And I would like to thank the user Olba on Reddit for their continued efforts in compiling the Tekken player data. It's actually really convenient. And even though I don't have access to official data, this feels good enough just to like look at and make a guess. So thank you so much, Olba. Hope you're having a good day. Okay, so before we get started, I wanted to take a look at the Tekken 7 DLC structure. So it's kind of weird when you actually get a chance to look at it. Tekken 7's DLC release schedule was very interesting / unpredictable, right? Typically when DLC is released for fighting games, you have between 4 and like 6 characters released, but Tekken kind of did it in a weird way where it wasn't that well structured. Things moved around a lot. So first off, we got the pre-order bonus. That was Eliza. So Eliza was, I believe, the first meter / fireball using Tekken character, right? So she was built in order to be paired with Akuma, right? So Akuma uses fireballs and he uses meter. So I think Eliza was the Tekken team's attempt at trying to create a character that uses fireballs in Tekken, which I think she worked well for what they wanted to do. But if we move on to the actual season pass, we can see that this season pass, we only had 2 characters, but then we also had 2 stages, right? So it kind of works in the idea of you looking at it from a slot point of view. So we got 4 slots, 2 of which were characters, 2 of which were stages. We also got Tekken Ultimate Bowl and some costumes. But because of the Tekken 8 cash shop and their their Game Pass, I don't remember what you call it. These cosmetics and sets, we're not going to get those going forward. I don't think those are going to be added. So that's less work for the Tekken team in creating the content for the DLC, and they can focus on characters. But what's interesting here is that we only got 2 characters, Noctis and Geese, 2 guest characters, but also 2 fireball characters, right? Or 2 projectile characters. And they did really well. They did a really good job at implementing these characters in Tekken, and they flowed really well. And that's going to be the running theme here. Like, I'm going to be praising the Tekken team for this. They're really good at pulling in characters into Tekken and making them work. I don't know how they do it, but they got that Tekken magic. In Season 2, this is where things get haphazard, right? So I think for Season 2, they wanted to release characters that a lot of people wanted. So popular past characters. Anna, Marduk, Armor King, and Julia. I'm leaving out Lei because Lei was an interesting case, right? I don't think they were going to release Lei, but there was such a big fan outcry that they added Lei into the roster. So it could be that if there's enough fan outcry, we could get Lei. But here's the thing though, right? Caveat to that is because everyone complained and asked for Lei, maybe we won't get the same response like we did for Lei because people people annoyed Harada and kind of pressured him and the team into adding Lei because, you know, it's Lei. People like Lei. But he didn't really have high usage. If there was somebody that was going to get cut from the roster, it would have been Lei. Additional to that, I can see this character being real difficult to develop and patch and manage because he has like what 6, 7, 8 stances. It's a lot to take into account. So I can see why they would have not wanted Lei in the game. Additionally, there's the whole idea of him being a Jackie Chan insert, right? So Jackie Chan, Blade, and Bruce Lee, right? Those are the 3 characters that I can see causing problems for the legal team. You know, they might get sued because there's characters in the game and they look like these other portrayals of other characters. But we like them, like I like them. But I can see why they would try to cut that down to reduce the chances of any negative backlash. But looking at this roster here, there's 6 characters, one of which was a guest character, Negan. Very good job at bringing that guy in. But he adds another monkey wrench into the predictions, right? If they were able to get Negan from a TV show into Tekken, a fighting game, this was his first foray into a fighting game, and they did such a good job with this character. They can basically bring in anybody. Think about it. This guy is from a TV show. He uses a bat, but they were able to bring him into Tekken and have him work out really well. So if we look at the DLC here, we can see these are going to be the typical suspects. Anna, Armor King, and Julia and Marduk. I think these are good candidates for season 2, but Lei, problem. I don't think he performed that well to be added into Tekken 8, right? So if I don't see him, I wouldn't be surprised. In addition, there was some exclusive items, but we're not getting those anymore. That's done. So if we look at season 3, right, we can see that they're kind of following a 6-slot structure, just like in Season Pass 2, right? You got 6 slots. These were all filled with characters, but these weren't all filled with characters. We got Zafina, Leroy, Ganru, Frame Data, that was abysmal, bad choice, that should have been free, and Fakumram, and a new stage, right? So that's kind of throwing another monkey wrench there because it's showing that, oh, you may not just get characters, you might get a stage in a slot, and you might get additional functionality, which kind of sucks. It's much better to give that functionality for free as opposed to paywalling it. But this is just us looking at what they got for us. Now, Leroy is the standout character here because they did such a fantastic job with Leroy in terms of how he was displayed and how he played. He was really too powerful, so they had to nerf him. And I think they nerfed him again in Tekken 8. Like, they didn't have to do him that bad, but, you know, this is what it is. Fakumram, great character, fantastic new addition. I think the weakest character here is Ganru, but people were asking for him too, so I think they gave in to the fans. Maybe, right? Here's the thing. When it comes to developing any sort of project, these big projects, they made decisions long ago. So it could be the case that fan outcry brought back Ganru and Lei, or they were just playing it up and they were going to be added anyway, and they wanted to make it seem like the fans had a say in what was happening here. Could be, right? That's just me being paranoid. But we can see here there's a 6-slot structure here. If we go down, Season Pass 4, we only got 4. 2 characters and 2 stages. Kunimitsu, another character that people asked for, and Lidia. Now, Kunimitsu is a projectile character. She does have a projectile in the game. Lidia just came out of left field. Like, never seen or heard from this character before, but she seems to have like big story implications because she's the, I think, prime minister of another country. So that's a big name player here that we've never heard about. But also she was added into the Tekken 8 Season 1 DLC. So it's really weird what they've done here because when you look, Leroy and Zafina were added into Tekken 8 base because I believe Zafina has story implication. Leroy, I think he was so popular that they just wanted to put him in, but also they gave him some story importance even though like he didn't really do much. But it's interesting to see like the changes that the Tekken team has implemented with regards to their DLC. So just to review here, we got Eliza as a pre-order bonus. We got 2 guest characters in the first season and 2 stages. Then we got 6 characters in season 2. In season 3, we got 4 characters and a stage and frame data display. Then in the last season, season 4, we got 2 characters and 2 stages. So they could really like drop anything here, right? They could make whatever decision that they want, and they've already set that standard. But I think that's important going forward, just to understand the past and see what we're getting into. Okay, so let's summarize here. I think they were trying to test the waters with regards to how to release Tekken DLC in Tekken 7. I think they did an okay job. There was a lot of learning for them, but I think Tekken 8 might be a bit better. Most games that release characters, most fighting games at least, they use a 4 to 6 slot structure, but Tekken 7 didn't really use a consistent slot structure. They changed on a whim basically. But with Tekken 8, if they do release 4 characters next season, we can be fairly certain that it's going to be a 4 slot consistent structure going forward, right? So this season is actually really important just for showing us that. They could come up with 6 or 8. Who knows? It's Tekken, bro. They also made a lot of changes as they saw fit with regards to how they would release the content. So sometimes they gave us characters, sometimes it was stages, and in other times it was features. So be ready for anything. Additionally, game modes, they use that as a slot. So I wouldn't be surprised if they added a new game mode, like I believe Tekken Force. I never played that Tekken, but they could add a new game mode and just use 1 or 2 slots for that. Not great, but don't be surprised, all right? Requested characters do have a legit chance of being added into Tekken 7, like Lei and Kunimitsu. But at the same time, as I said before, it could be that they planned that and they're just trying to say that we had a say, right? Could be the case. Additionally, cosmetics won't take up their processing / development time for the DLC. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to find the Tekken character usage data. But as you know, or maybe you don't know, Tekken actually doesn't release the character data. They'll give you bits and pieces, but they're not going to give you anything formal or official. So people have to basically go online and find information in different ways, right? So this person was able to go onto a website, I think it's a Japanese website, to get some Tekken 7 arcade usage data. I'm not sure if this is official or what, right? But it's still useful for us because we can see how popular certain characters are in the Tekken 7 arcade. Now, granted, I think all of the characters are here, so this is not like the latest chart or the latest data, but it is data that was compiled after all the characters were added to the game. So we can go ahead and have a look at the cumulative usage, which is all-time usage. So we want to look here and see what characters are performing the best. And we can see here at the top, we got Brian, Kazuya, and Paul. We also have King and Armor King. So Armor King being like top 5 is really good. So this is giving me more hope that he's going to return. It's almost like a guarantee here, but I don't want to jinx it. We do have Asuka, Dragunov, Law, Steve, Jin. So those guys are pretty popular. But I'm more interested in the DLC characters, right? That's what we want to see. So we can see here, Marduk. I don't know what place he is here, but Marduk is on the second page. So he seems to be pretty popular. So he's a safe bet too, along with Anna. So Anna seems to be more popular than Nina, or she's being used more, which is pretty good. We can see here Katarina is here, but I don't really have faith in Katarina. Geese is here. So Julia, Julia is so strange because she was a good character in Tekken, but she didn't get the opportunity to shine. Many people didn't really use her. Maybe it was her play style. Maybe it was, I don't know, the change in the character's personality. I'm not quite sure. We can see Miguel. So Miguel is less popular than Eddie. Eddie was removed as DLC and replaced as DLC. So maybe Miguel won't come back. Now we have Lucky Chloe and Lei. I can see why Lei's so low because he's way too complex to use and I don't think the juice was worth the squeeze. Lucky Chloe was fun, but I don't think there was enough time for her to actually sit in the minds of the players. But she did have like a negative reputation among certain players. Like certain players did not like Lucky Chloe. If you scroll down more or look down more, we can see Kazumi. Now, Kazumi was really good early in Tekken 7, but she took a hard hit on the nerfs and then she fell off basically. I would like to see her return, but the story has killed her off. Spoilers. But they killed off Heihachi and brought him back. So I'm like really confused as to basically I'm thinking anything can happen. Death doesn't mean anything in the Tekken universe. Fakumram is pretty low. I'm not sure why that is. I think he was very popular in terms of his aesthetic, but it's odd to see him so low. I was expecting him to be higher, like maybe at Lars's level. You can see Bob and Leo. Leo's the one character I think Tekken could do without. I don't mind him being there. It's just somebody else would be a better slot. I think Bob would be a better slot in Tekken 7, the main roster, than Leo. Josie, she's pretty low. Not gonna lie, pretty low. Then we got Akuma, who I don't think is coming back. Leroy's not very good, but he got nerfed too, so he's very like stylish, and I can see his popularity made him a valuable asset for Tekken, but they made him too weak. He's not strong. Shaheen always been underused, but he was good in Tekken 7. He had very good tools. He's not coming back. I don't think Gigas is coming back. I would be surprised. Maybe they do bring back Gigas and Katarina to finish off their story, but I don't have faith. Let's put it that way. Master Raven, I would like her to come back. She's all the way at the last page, right? So here's the weird thing. If you're at the last page, but you were a base roster character, it means that you were not used consistently throughout the life cycle of the game. Somebody like Armor King was able to rise up and get to number 5, but I mean, these characters were here from day one, except Kunimitsu and Lidia and Ganru. Nobody really used them, and Safina. Nobody really used them. So these are the characters that are the lowest performing, but I think Lidia, Ganru, and Kunimitsu and Zafina, I think here they didn't have enough time to actually cook, but I don't think their playstyle is really too hard. Like specifically Zafina, her playstyle is really hard to learn and use, so it's a big mental stack on the player. I can see why people don't want to use her. Lydia, very new, very stance-based. I can see why people didn't really gravitate towards her. Ganru, not as good as Bob. Like, I prefer Bob. For what Bob does, it's cooler and fun and more fun. Kunimitsu was really good, and I think a lot of people were asking for Kunimitsu, so she was a good balance of being a good character and also being somewhat popular. And also keep in mind, Lydia returned. So since Lydia returned and Kunimitsu was more popular than Lydia and saw more usage than Lydia, she may come back. But also Ganru. Ganru was used more than Lydia, so he might also come back. Eliza is the one that I feel bad about because I like Eliza. I like Eliza and Josie. I like their personalities, but I understand that they don't perform well, so they're going to need some work to be brought back into the game. So we know Armor King's coming back. We know Marduk and Anna, they're coming. Well, Anna was teased, so we know she's coming back too. But certain characters here, they perform well enough to warrant a return. So would they be able to enhance the character's personality in some way, along with the gameplay and the moveset, right? Would they be able to craft a character that's narratively interesting enough for people to gravitate towards that character? They did it twice. They did it with Fakumram and they did it with Leroy. So maybe they could do it again. Now I want to move into the good part. So we want to now look at the Tekken 7 Season 4 PC ranked leaderboard statistics. Now these are done in 3 parts, and these are provided to us by someone called Olba or Olbays on Reddit. They really like data, numbers, and math, as you can see here. And they went through the effort of collecting all of this data and organizing it for us in the past. And it's really useful for us to see this information because we're not going to get it officially, but the players in the community were able to collect it and gather it for us. So I want to say a big thank you to Allbase. This is very, very useful information. And I don't think you know just how useful this. I don't think you knew how useful this was to do in the past. But yeah, thank you so much. So what we want to do here is look at this data and see what characters were the most used in ranked. So we do have two. Basically, I want to look at two here, which is the most played characters and the most played characters in the top 5 from Revered Ruler up to Tekken God Omega. So let's go ahead and look at this. So in this chart here, we have the characters and their season 4 placements. So as I said before, this is split in 3 parts. So we have season 4 part 1 placement with the change, as in the change of the character's position compared to the previous part or the previous season. And then we have season 4 part 2 placement with the change, season 4 part 3 placement with the change. Additionally, we have the DLC indicator here all the way on the right to indicate which character is DLC, which is what we want to focus on. DLC characters and who isn't in Tekken right now. One more thing. So the placement of each character is actually based off of their placement at part 3. So their placement here is the most recent placement for each character. That's the way I'm looking at it. And these placements in the middle, they're just showing you how the character has transitioned. So we want to look here and see who's the most played character. We can see here it's Paul, Kazuya, and Brian. But number 4 and number 5, we got Armor King and Fakumram. So this is just giving me more confirmation that these two are coming. It's just when. Really, that's it. Now we want to skip over the main roster characters. Leroy's in the game. He was really popular. So I think it was an easy one. Now, even though Heihachi did really well, they still got rid of him and then brought him back. So it could be because of story. Negan is pretty high up. I don't think he's going to come back because he's a guest character. Claudia Lars Sleep. So here's what's interesting. Kazumi and Kunimitsu are in the top 20. And they're above Lidia, as we can see here. So I'm thinking these two may come back. The only thing is with Kazumi, spoilers, she died in Tekken 8. So would they bring her back? Because Heihachi also died. And they brought him back. So why not? Jun died. They brought her back. So, I mean, death is just a facade here. Now, so below Lidia, this gets interesting. We have Miguel, Josie, and Marduk. So these characters were popular enough that I think that they would make a comeback. More so Marduk. I think Marduk could return because he's usually partnered with Armor King. Josie, I really like Josie's character. The idea of having a Tekken character that cries is pretty interesting to me because it's like, no one ever cries in Tekken. And I'm thinking, if you see Paul punching brick walls, you don't want to get punched by that guy. You'd cry. But the problem here, I think, is Miguel, because Miguel has beef with Jin, and Jin is on his whole redemption arc now. So I'm wondering if they would just not bring back Miguel because it's going to make Jin look bad. Or they're going to bring him back and have him have some sort of story reconciliation with Jin. I'm not sure what they're going to do there. But Miguel seems like the one that would be the least likely to make it in. But I think people would be really happy if they saw him. Let's go down. We got Lily. Noctis did well, but I don't think he's coming back. He's a DLC character. Jack 7, Lee, Asuka, Julia. Julia was a really good character, but I don't think she did really well in terms of her tournament performance because she had to compete with Leroy and Fakumram and Kunimitsu. So it's like, even though she was good, she wasn't good enough to like overcome those characters, right? So I think she's in a weird spot. In addition to her character slash persona needs work because I think in Tekken 7 she was like a entertainer slash streamer. So I'm like, what is happening here? Because before she was a character that was more focused on like saving the planet. But then she became a streamer and now I'm like, okay, what's she going to be now? And then before that, she was like a wrestler. So it's like, I think they need to take the time to really like build out Julia as a character because right now she's all over the place. If you look at Brian, you know that Brian is a Hellraiser. So like you understand what the character is about. But with Julia, she's constantly changing because I don't think they know what to do with her. Leo, Leo is kind of boring. Like I prefer Bob. Like I would prefer Bob to Leo. So I'm not quite sure why they brought back Leo in Tekken. Like it seems like a wasted slot with Leo. No disrespect to Leo fans, but it's like, ugh. Bob, Bob may not come back. I would like to see him back. I really like that character because he's one of the big boy characters. Bob, Gigas, and Ganru. So the big boy characters need some representation, and I think Bob is good for that. I think Bob is the best of the three. Shaheen, he's in Tekken 8. Eliza, Geese. Geese is not coming back. Katarina and Gigas are weird because Gigas was just bad overall, so I don't think he's coming back. But Katarina was good in tournaments, so I don't think she had the personality to capture people's attention, so maybe she won't come back just because of that. She was like a throwaway character, and her story with Gigas was kind of poorly written. It wasn't really anything concrete there, so I don't think they have to follow that through. They can just disappear. Lucky Chloe is interesting because she was popular, but she wasn't really used in tournaments. I think the pro players said she wasn't that good, but for some reason, Lucky Chloe and Akuma really stress out a lot of players. So maybe she'll come back just because like she's like a dark horse. Like that's enough to rile people up and get some attention going. Got Yoshimitsu, got Zafina, and Zafina is in Tekken. Anna is more popular than Nina at the end of season 4, so they already teased Anna. So like Anna has story significance because if they remove Anna, Nina doesn't really have much to stand on besides being that background assassin character that doesn't really do much. She appears and then she disappears. She's a threat, or she's a threatening persona, but not really a threat, if you get me. Like she doesn't really, like she was hired to assassinate, I think, Kazuya, Heihachi, Jin, but she didn't kill any of them. With good reason, like how are you gonna kill these guys? But yeah, Nina isn't really that great story-wise, and she wasn't that great tournament-wise, like performance-wise as a character, so I can see why she's that low. Eddie, yeah, I can see why he was DLC. Lei, I would like to see Lei come back, but I'm not sure if they will bring him back. And I don't know how well Lei would work in Tekken, seeing as he has so many stances, and they're really in a stance-heavy craze at the end of season 1. So I'm not sure if they're going to change their focus from stance-heavy characters to something else in season 2. So we just gotta wait and see. But if they bring back Lei with the heat system, he's probably going to be a problem. Akuma, I don't think Akuma's coming back. There's no reason for him to come back. Master Raven, I like how she looks, but she didn't perform very well. She was Raven's replacement. And I can kind of see why they were trying to get rid of her and Lei, because they look like certain characters. Like Raven looks like Blade, Lei looks like Jackie Chan, and La looks like Bruce Lee. So I can see why they were trying to like get rid of these, like two of these characters, because it would like mitigate some of the risk. But so far nobody said anything. I don't think the companies that own the IPs of these other characters really care. Then we got Ganryu, who's like all the way at the bottom. I don't think he's coming back. Maybe he does, but I don't think he's coming back. I understand people like the big boy characters, but Bob's the best one. Like, bring back Bob. Gigas was poor. Ganryu, I don't really like that guy. He's really weird. Kuma, Eliza, Panda. Kuma and Panda, they're going to make it in every Tekken. I think that they should be in Tekken, so the game stays unique. It's the only game where you can fight bears, literally. And one of the bears won the Tekken tournament, I think twice. The Tekken World Tournament. So, yes, keep the bears in. Eliza, I don't think she's going to make it in because of her performance, but I think people were interested in her. It's just, she was the first, I think, fireball-based Tekken character, so there was a lot of work that was required there. But if they're moving away from fireballs or projectiles in Tekken 8, she may not make a recurrence, or if she does, she's going to be really different. Now, I would like to move on to the most played top 5 characters. This is from Revered Ruler all the way to Tekken God Omega. This is the top 5 most common characters in these ranks. So we can see here, if we look back at this list here, we got Paul, Kazuya Brian, Armor King Fakumram, And they're all here. Paul, Brian, Fakumram, Kazuya, Brian, Armor King. Like they're all here. We do have some Dragonovs. We have Feng and Leroy. But we also have Kunimitsu, but she only appears once. So I can see why Leroy was brought in. But since Kunimitsu performs so well, I think she's going to make it in. But Fakumram and Armor King, they're a shoo-in right now. It's just a matter of when. At this point, place your bets on what they're going to look like. All right. So what I want to do now is to create a basic tier list of the characters that have the highest and the lowest chance of being added into the game. So I wanted to use only the characters that are currently not in Tekken 8, but are in Tekken 7, excluding the DLC characters, right? Because I think DLC characters in Tekken 8 provide us a little bit of insight into what the developers are thinking of. Except Clive. Like, I don't have the picture here for Clive, as you can see. But let's look at who here is going to make the cut. First off, we got Heihachi, we got Eddie, we got Lidia. These are all characters that are now DLC characters in Tekken 8. And they're important for different reasons. A, they're stance heavy. So is that going to be the theme going forward in Tekken 8? Are the DLC characters going to be more stance based? Or was that just for this season and then the next season is going to be like projectiles or something else, right? Let's go ahead and see who is not gonna be in it. Like, first off, this guy, I don't think he's coming back. I don't think you're coming back. So Akuma, Geese, Negan, Noctis. I don't think these characters are coming back because they're guest characters. And their significance and importance has died out. And I don't think they're going to be able to get the rights to Negan again, right? I don't know what kind of magic they're cooking over there. Who I think got low chances. Oh boy. Like, I'm going to move certain people around, but I don't think Katarina is going to make it. She might make it. She might make it, right? Maybe. Gigas, I don't think he's gonna make it in. Nor is Lei. I think Miguel could make it, but because of how bad he makes Jin look, I don't think he's got a strong chance. Ganru, I don't think there's enough interest for that character. I really don't. I think Bob is pretty cool. I think he's a unique character design and a unique personality that would really thrive in Tekken 8. Josie, I think that's a low chance. I wouldn't be surprised if she was, but it would be really good if she was. Julia, I think Julia's got a decent chance. I really think she does. Just based off the fact that she's been in so many other Tekkens, and there's still room for her to grow and to be developed. Kunimitsu, I think Kunimitsu's got a high chance. Like, if we look here, Kunimitsu is higher than Lidia, and Lidia made it in. So I think there's a high chance that Kunimitsu would appear. But also, I think there's a high chance for Kazumi to appear. Or maybe a medium chance, but she performed better than Julia. She was really popular. I think many people would be happy with her return. The thing here is that they brought back Heihachi from the dead. She's dead in Tekken 7. So I wouldn't be surprised if they brought her back again. Like, they even brought back Jun. So death is just a story point for these characters. At this point, I would like her to be back as opposed to her being dead, because she literally was in the game for just one game. Like, she's too cool to stay dead. Bring her back. Heihachi's alive, but she's dead? No way. But also, it kind of diminishes death in the game. So there is that whole issue that you gotta contend with. Fakumram, hi. I think he's gonna be in the game. You know what? Let's move him here. I think Fakumram is going to be in Tekken 8. I would be surprised if he's not. Eliza, she didn't perform super well, right? She didn't really perform well enough for people to bring her back or to want her back. Maybe she does have enough fanfare to be brought back, and dang, they didn't even integrate her in the story. So it's like really hard to say, oh yeah, bring her back. Like, why? Armor King, he's in. He's in, buddy. No two ways about it. Armor King is in. Fakumram, Armor King, those two guys are guaranteed. Like the strong contenders right here. These are the three strongest. Maybe medium would be better for Kazumi. Maybe medium, but these three definitely. I can see them coming back, bro. Lucky Chloe. I think she has just as much of a chance as these characters. Maybe even Unique Low. I don't know. I don't think she's that strong of a contender. I'm not confident here. Anna. Anna is in. Because they already like teased it, so like she's the strongest person here just because they teased her in the season 2 trailer, I believe. Marduk, I would say a medium chance. I would give him a decent chance of being added into the game. All right, let's do a one over, right? We got Heihachi, Eddie, Lidia, Anna. She was teased. Fakumram, Armor King, they performed really well and they were popular. Kunimitsu performed well, but not as popular. Kazumi was popular and performed well early, but then they nerfed her and then she like fell off. Julia, she never got the opportunity to shine. She's a good character. They really want to keep her in the game, but they still don't know what they're gonna do with her. Marduk, dude, he's got a legion. I didn't know that he was that popular. Master Raven. Maybe put her back here. I think these are unique characters that have a lot that they would be able to provide in Tekken. So I think those characters have a moderately low chance of coming back. But these guys, I don't think they're coming back. Katarina and Gigas had a whole story thing, but wasn't fleshed out well. Lei, they begged for him, they didn't play him. Ganru, get rid of that guy. Josie, I like these characters. I like them. I think they're cool. I also like Bob too, but like I would like to see Josie back. If I had to pick out of these three, it would be Josie that I would like to see back. She's really cool. Just the personality of somebody who cries. Like I've never really seen that in a fighting game before. So that's really unique.